This is number 16 from the Extra Practice Unit 2 review. 16 says, determine if P and negation Q is logically equivalent to negation, parentheses, negation P or Q. All right, so in order to do this, we need to do a truth table because I cannot use De Morgan's law on this. So we're going to do two truth tables. So I'm going to call this first one P and negation Q. All right, so again, I have two simple statements, P and Q. I'm going to take care of that negation. And then finally, I'm going to put the pieces together. So P and negation Q. Okay. So since I have two letters, I'm going to have 4 rows. Row 2, row 3, and row 4. All right, so P is true, true, false, false. Q is going to be true, false, true, false. Negation Q. So I'm going to negate the Q column. So negation of true is false. Negation of false is true. Negation of true is false. And negation of false is true. Now I'm going to put P, which was true, true, false, false. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to put the and symbol there. And I'm going to do negation Q, which was false, true, false, true. Now it's an and. Remember, the only time and is true is when both are true, which happens in line 2. Otherwise, it's false. So true and false in line 1 equals false. In line 3, false and false is false. And in line 4, false and true is false. Okay, so my truth table values are going to be false, true, false, false. Okay, let's work on the second one. So the second one says we have to do negation of negation P or Q. So I'm going to do a truth table for this. I'm going to do a P column, a Q column, just like always. And then I'm going to negate P inside the parentheses. I'm going to do the entire parentheses, negation P or Q. Then I'm going to negate what we find in that column. So it's going to be negation of the negation of P or Q. And that'll be my last column. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to do a truth table and see if the truth values at the end are exactly the same as what we did for the first one. So are the truth values the same for P and negation Q? And we're going to compare that to negation of the negation P or Q. All right, so P again is true, true, false, false. Q is true, false, true, false. Negation P, so I'm going to negate true and get false. I'm going to negate true in line 2 to get false. In line 3, I'm going to negate false to get true. And in line 4, I'm going to negate false to get true. So I have false, false, true, true. And I'm going to recopy that down because I need it for the next one. And I'm going to put an or symbol, and then I'm going to copy down the Q column, which is true, false, true, false. Okay, I have an or. The only time or is false is when both are false, which happens in line 2. In line 1, we have false or true, which is true. In line 3, we have true or true, which is true. And in line 4, we have true or false, which is true. Now, I'm going to negate what I just found. So the negation of true equals false. The negation of false equals true. The negation of true equals false. And finally, in row 4, the negation of true equals false. So my truth value for this one would be false, true, false, false. And we notice that they are exactly the same and in exactly the same order. So therefore, they are logically equivalent. Okay, that was 16. Number 17, let P represent Edith eats her vegetables and let Q represent Edith gets a cookie. Write in words the converse, inverse, and contrapositive. So the converse is backwards from if P then Q. And remember that the conditional is if P then Q, right? So if I write the converse, Q, remember, is Edith gets cookie. So I need the word if because it is a conditional statement. So we write if Edith gets a cookie, then now we need the opposite. So we need P, which is she eats her veggies. Okay, let's do the inverse. So we have a negation of P, then negation Q. So negation of P is going to be if Edith does not eat her veggies, then she, now I need negation Q, does not get a cookie. And finally, the contrapositive is negation Q, then negation P. So I write if Edith does not get a cookie, then she does not eat her veggies. Okay, so that is the converse, inverse, and contrapositive. That's number 17. All right, 18. Use De Morgan's law to write the negation of the following statement. So in order to do this, I need to know what the original statement is. It says either you buy a blue car or you buy a red car. So I'm going to let P equal you buy a blue car. And I'm going to let Q equal you buy a red car. Okay? So this looks like this. P or Q. All right. Now I want to negate that. So if I negate P or Q by use of De Morgan's law, I know that's logically equivalent to the negation of P and the negation of Q. So when I write this out, I have to write, you don't buy a blue car and don't buy a blue car. Okay? All right. So 19, write the negation of the following conditional statement. If you get an engineering degree, you'll be offered a job as soon as you graduate. Okay, so P is you get an engineering degree. And Q is you will or you'll be offered a job as soon as you graduate. Okay? All right, so that's what P is. That's what Q is. So the statement is if P then Q. So remember the negation of if P then Q is logically equivalent to P and negation Q. So I'm going to write out you get an engineering degree, and now I need to negate Q. You will not be offered a job as soon as you graduate. I'm like running out of room there. Okay? All right. I'm going to stop here. We're going to pick up on number 20. So that's going to be the next video. But thank you for watching. Questions, what did I get through here? 16 through 19. So 16 through 19.